Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today I want to talk about raid tanking and Mythic Plus tanking, one versus another, and why I'm seeing in the community more people more willing to tank Mythic Plus than raid. This stems from a question one of my guildmasters asked me a while back. Actually, kind of recently, but the same one asked, a different one asked a while back as well. So we're going to get into that. But first, please like, comment, subscribe. Flabbergasted by all the support that you, the community, has been giving me. Let's keep that rolling. Thank you so much. There's a Patreon link down below if you wish to support me directly. There's going to be a community raid night, a D&D night raffle once a month, and lots of good stuff. I'm trying to provide as much value as I can in that. There's a Twitch link down below if you want to, talk about anything that you heard here. You can catch me on stream. I stream 5 to 6 days a week right now. And as well, the community Discord source of lots of great information. Any LVY profiles or weak auras or anything that you want are in there for free for download as well. Or if you just want to sit and chat, an amazing community of positive, fun people, I have to say. So what is that question? Why is it so hard to find raid tanks? Plain and simple, right? Why? And that got me to thinking, of course, because I'm me. And I think about way too many things. And that is, when you stop and think about, like, the analytics of it, right? One raid requires 2 tanks. Generally, the size of your raid is going to be between 15 to 22 people, right? If you're on Mythic, it's 20, and Heroic and Normal kind of go around there. Of course, there are smaller raids, there are larger raids, and everything else in between. But if you only require 2 tanks for a raid, that same group of people all doing keys at the same time would have 4. And so you'd think it'd actually be easier to find people willing to tank Mythic raid versus Mythic Plus, but I'm seeing a growing number of people in the community that are quite literally saying, no, I'll tank Mythic Plus, but I don't want to tank raid. Just, why is that? Number one, and this is my personal opinion, all of this is personal opinion for the most part, by the way. There are some general community feedback that I've gotten and I've seen over time, but my experience is I play all 6 tanks, I tank in raid, I tank in Mythic Plus, I play tanks, right? That's what I do. So, but why is that? Why is there a growing number of people that don't want to play in Mythic Plus, that only want to tank Mythic Plus, sorry, and not in raid? Number one, raid tanking is kind of boring. It's pretty boring, to be honest with you. There are some really fun fights, but most of the time you're just kind of, alright, what's my tank swap here? Cool, got it. Alright, what's the general mechanic that, the whole raid needs to know, including myself? Excellent, cool, got it, perfect, done. And if you catch some of my streams, I'm not always the most alert during raid, right? It happens in the evening. Pretty much all of the raids that I participate in happen in the evening. So I'm kind of like, all right, here we go. And I have almost fallen asleep at times because, you're waiting your 30 to 40 seconds for your tank swap mechanic or something like that. And there are some really fun fights that this doesn't happen. But for the most part, tanks have very little to do, but surviving is obviously very important because, if a tank dies, if both your tanks dies and you have no brezzes, guess what? It's probably a wipe. So a lot rests on your shoulders as a raid tank, but there's just not a whole lot to do. And for me, this season, in this raid particular, Rygalon was the most fun fight to tank. It was interactive with how you could get corrupted strikes or how you could avoid them when you wanted to taunt off, and the taunts were frequent, and it was just a high octane, high incoming damage. Okay, how am I going to survive this fight? Right? And you have to, that's something you're thinking of the entire time. It's not a long fight, but it's high octane right from the get-go. And that, I think, made it a lot of fun for me, where I can not fall asleep on I don't want to say fall asleep, but I cannot just kind of, zone out. On Rygalon, I need to be attentive, and I want to be attentive, which makes me want to go for that. But in Mythic Plus, versus, when you're tanking Mythic Plus, number one of the feelings, the great feelings about tanking Mythic Plus, right off the bat, is it's you. You are the tank. You're not sharing responsibility. You're not sharing duties. You are the tank. You die, your group's in trouble. You survive, you're doing pretty good, right? And every pull is different. So, like, you know, mob after mob, pull after pull, there's something different about it. There's different kicks, there's different stuns, there's different things you have to watch out for. There's different guys that hurt differently. So you're constantly being moved and interacted with in that sort of way, where in Raid, it's, you know, it's 6 minutes of the same guy. And that also lends to kind of tyrannical hierarchies. Like, I'm sorry, but like the first boss of Mythic Plus, of Mist of Tyr Scythe on High Tyrannical Week is just annoying. And it's annoying for the same reason that raid tanking can be annoying at times. You're just kind of dealing with the same 2 or 3 mechanics as a tank, and you're just kind of moving forward and dealing with it and things like that. But you can't make things too hard on the tank, because here's the thing. If you have a raid that's entirely full of Rygolons, it's not a really fun raid for the rest of the people, right? So, I mean, when you're dealing with tanks, which is, let's say, 10% of your party, it's tanks on average, right? At 20, 2 at 20, right? Let's think about it that way. Having all fights like that is not fun. There are some fights that are funner to tank, or just funner to be in. Some fights in Raid are just funner to be in. Not necessarily tank. Any role is just fun because it's a fun encounter. And that's just as fine. But most of the time, it's tank swap, do this. Okay, tank swap, do this. Okay, cool. Tank swap, do this. Alright, cool. Rinse and repeat. But there's not a whole lot of ways for them to really integrate and move forward and evolve off that every single time. And for that, I think raid tanking is going to probably be one of the more boring things that you can do in this game. Now, I'm not talking about like Mythic raid prog when you're under geared and things like that, because you have a fear of dying. You need to survive. You need to play right? If you're in a cutting edge guild and you're at item level 265 or whatever on Jailer, that's, you know, pushing for race to world first, that's fun. You have other means to want to keep you into that game. But if you're just playing raid with your friends, you know, and you're just kind of going through the motions of, let's see how many mythic bosses we can kill this tier, like I am. See, I want my AOTC. I get my AOTC, that's what I do. And then I'm more than willing to go into Mythic Raid and have fun with my friends and hang out and things like that. Have I caused a couple of wipes on Skull-X because I didn't go up to the stack because I was just kind of zoned out? Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and assume I'm not the only one. I mean, it's quite the assumption, but I can pretty much say I'm not the only one and be like 99% certain on that, because it just kind of is what it is. Versus Mythic Plus is a lot more interactive, and it changes. And what's fun about Mythic Plus, you get to set the pace. If you want to have a slower dungeon where you just take it easy and you just go in, and you want to be more methodical about it, you can do that. If you want to go high octane and pull 2 or 3 packs at a time and just go to town and then keep moving forward, you can do that. Which allows you to really interact with the dungeon a lot more than the raid interacting with you. If you get what I'm saying. It's a little bit of a weird concept, but that's what's really fun about Mythic Plus tanking, is you get to interact with the dungeon. You get to do things as you want. You get to customize the run as you see fit, depending on... I have different routes for whatever comp that I have. Do I have enough CC for certain things? You know, I will pull differently, and sometimes people are like, wait, that's not how, like, that's not the base route. Why are you doing it this way? And then they're like, that's really weird. Like, what's going on? Well, then I can explain, hey, well, no, with this, this, and this, we don't have this, this, and this, meaning I want to pull these 3 over here, depending on the dungeon. I want to pull these 3 over here, then I'll pull that separately, because we just don't have this to deal with this. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But that's me interacting with the dungeon in a way that I see fit to make that run happen to the best of my capabilities as a tank, to allow my DPS in my party, and the healer in my party to have the funnest and easiest time. Because like I said earlier, trash is the most fun thing in Mythic Plus or even in this game. I'm sorry, this is my personal opinion, but that's why I really like Gambit, right? You can just pull like 4 packs of Murlocs and just bring them in and just have your DPS just wreck them and see those high super numbers and everybody have fun. But for me in my head is, what 4 packs do I pull for them to have the easiest time, do the most amount of DPS, and not have to worry about the least amount of CC, right? Because if you pull way too many scale binders, you're having a bad time because you just don't have enough CC for all the invigorating fish sticks that are going to come out. Then they have to prio target those, and it's not fun. But for me as a tank, I can think, all right, I've got this, this, and this for DPS classes in the comp that I'm running with. Let's do this, this, and this. This seems like it'd be really good for them. And that sort of interaction with the dungeon is, I think, very attractive for Mythic Plus tanks versus the raid interacts with you as a tank. And that can not always be fun. Am I going to find raid tanking fun? Yes. Would I prefer to be tanking a Mythic Plus dungeon? Yes, because, and that's just how I am. That's how it is. Those are kind of my thoughts on it. What do you think? Are you a raid tank that completely disagrees with me? Are you a Mythic Plus tank that agrees or disagrees with me? Let me know down in the comment section down below. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about, to try and see what we can do to get more people tanking in raids, because I know a lot of guilds are looking for good raid tanks. A lot of guilds. And Mythic Plus tanks are definitely more prevalent within the community of World of Warcraft right now versus raid tanks. And let's see what we can do to kind of maybe balance that out. What kind of fun can we have? You know, what sort of community feedback can we give out to make it more enjoyable and get more people wanting to tank? And I understand that, you know, tank slots are very limited in raid as well. Like I said, there's only ever 2, and that is not flexible. Versus healer and DPS, you can kind of flex between, well, we can 3 heal this, no, we need 5 heals for this, or 4 is fine, and then that way you can have people swapping from DPS to heals and playing a little bit more switch and kind of making that more interactive and more fun with them. Versus tank, you're just always tanking. You've got this one static job, and it's tanking. And every encounter is 6 to 10 minutes, depending on what it is. And actually, I've got to say, Jailer was a fairly interesting fight to tank. You had three phases, and on each 3 of the phases, the tank had a different job to do. It wasn't, you know, you had your taunt swaps, yes, of course, but each phase required a different thing from the tank as a taunt swap instead of it just being the same thing over and over again, which I found to be a lot more fun, right? You had the big tank buster, then you had the one where you had to run away to find a pillar, and then on the 3rd one was your little bit more bland one, but you had, you know, mind controls and things going out. You had to, like, prepare your defensives and properly place him for the Azeroth. I thought that was a lot more fun and interactive. Just me. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys think. Have yourselves a good day, and thank you very much for listening. Happy tanking.